Buona sera, blah blah blah, etc. Here we find ourselves in the beautiful hilltop village of Ravello, Italy, situated at the southern end of the Amalfi Coast. And we're going to spend a little time with Bruce Jensen, otherwise known as Dad. So, we've got a number of different themes that we're going to be speaking on. We thought we'd spend the time here, Dad, talking about your earliest memories.
Yeah.
What is your earliest memory? What were your memories with Grandma and Grandpa? What were your memories with your siblings? What was it like growing up in LA?
Well, sitting here by the ocean, first of all, doesn't bring me by the first memories, because these ocean memories, these views, and ocean trips came when I was more toward 10 and 12, 15 years old. You want to talk about those memories as a
I guess we could do that.
a beach
This
boy?
inspires you to talk more
Well,
about
that's when I saw
LA.
this. It just makes me think back more of growing up, and the ocean was one of the most memorable parts of my youth, my teenage years. Lots of time was spent at the beach in California, Southern California, in Westwood. We lived about 5 miles from the beach in West Los Angeles, between just west of Beverly Hills and about 5 miles east of Santa Monica. So it was about a 5-mile drive to the beach, or actually more likely 10 or 15 to the beaches that we went to like Malibu, and these sort of places that we could do some camping and have fires and actual parties. And parties we could do at the beach were a lot of fun as kids. We'd go as teenagers, and we could actually cook out on the beach. We can't do that now. We could probably even sleep overnight if we wanted to. It was a lot safer on the beaches of Southern California in 1958 than it is today. And one of the great memories I have of the beach was my 16th birthday. Surprise birthday party was held at the beach with about a half a dozen friends of mine. Had no idea what was going on until I got home one day in Westwood, and they were there, and we went to the beach. But a lot of memories done there. We used to go what we call grunion hunting, just to get the kids at the beach at night, and something to do. I don't remember seeing a grunion, but it was something to say, we'll go down to the beach, and we can get there at night and look for these little grunions crawling out of the sands of next to the water. Just an excuse to be there and lay on the beach and hear the surf. But the ocean was a big part of growing up. Catalina Beach, Catalina Island, 26 miles from Los Angeles. There's an old song back in 1959 called 26 Miles Across the Sea, Santa Catalina's a-waiting for me. Big song, 4 preps. They were members of the church at the time and very popular. But Catalina was a lot of fun to go to. Emerald Bay, we would go over there as Boy Scouts. So that was back when I was 12 years old, to go to the island. So those were memorable times as youth, and I've got lots more experiences or things to talk about as growing up as a teenager.
What was a typical weekend like in LA as a kid?
Well, it would later, my later teens, it was on weekends. It was working. I'd work at a hotel. It's a bellhop at the Beverly Comstock on not Westwood, but Wilshire Boulevard. It was a hotel apartment house for a lot of movie people, producers, directors, actors, a few actors like Humphrey Bogart's wife, Lauren Bacall, Edward G. Robinson's wife, Tyrone Power. They lived in this complex. It was apartments, but treated like a hotel. They had the wholesale amenities of a hotel. So I just bellhopped there, and so that was one of the great jobs I had. and that was always on weekends, and usually a couple nights during the week while I was in high school. Paid $1 an hour, $1 per hour, plus tips. On a good night, I could probably make $5 or $6 in tips. It's always great to have somebody come back from Las Vegas with a silver dollar in their wallet, give you a silver dollar tip. Of course, we didn't think of a silver dollar as much then. I should have saved them, because a silver dollar today, depending on what year, etc., is quite valuable. But then it wasn't worth much, and I used to give my girlfriend, Lynn Melby, a silver dollar for a special kiss. Here's a dollar earned and a kiss gained. But that's one of the things I did on weekends, work that way. Talk about working, I had a full-time job as a paper carrier for Los Angeles Times in my teen years. I'd have that on a bicycle. I'd put about 75 papers of the LA Times on my bike and haul them around the hills of the local area. Deliver papers every morning. So that's, you said what I do on the weekend. That's throughout the whole week, though. But on the weekends, it was we'd occasionally have some teen parties, usually ward parties, activities, which are a lot more prominent then than they are today. Well organized group activities with the ward, typically dances as group activities, and we'd have that in the ward house. Or we'd have a lot of parties with our teen friends that were in high school and were not necessarily all members of the church. We had some very good friends that were not LDS that were excellent friends, and we made good party goers. We didn't do things that we ought not to do. It was so easy to grow up then compared to what it is today, even not having members of the church as friends. It just wasn't the problem. It was a pleasure, and we were always good examples. I think did what we should and respected for who we were, and really did well and had great activities. But we had a lot of youth activities growing up where our kids today don't. We had 2 or 3 parties every month that we'd go to on weekends. Of course, in those days, we did a lot more of that, and we didn't have all the things that kids do today that my grandkids did and that you kids did. You were a lot more involved with activities, and we were. It's just group things that we did together that we organized as organized big group things.
We know you liked jazz music, Strategic Air Command. What other things in the popular culture did you like?
Well, that was another.
Like baseball or what?
No. I never was into baseball, or basketball, or football, or chess, or even checkers. My high school activities, you guys were more on the stage. I thought, gee, I'll make a good actor one day, and maybe be on stage. So I took drama classes instead of sports activities, which we didn't do as much then as we do now. Sports were a lot bigger. So I did a lot of, and we'll talk later about the jazz clubs on weekends. That was always another weekend thing that I'd like to do. Go to the jazz places where they have actual, really well-known jazz musicians, such as Miles Davis Jr., John Coltrane, and listen to small quintets, quartets. Love jazz, and we can go into these little places, and all you'd have to do is buy a drink, buy that, a couple of Pepsi Colas, and you'd get to hear this great music and be right up 10, 15 feet from the jazz musicians.
So you actually saw John Coltrane live?
No. No, I did not see John, but I saw Miles Davis and a number of other great. John Coltrane was just one of my very favorite tenor saxophonists. And Miles Davis at tenor sax, but I saw other saxophonists that were, well, not equally as good, but gave me kind of the same thrill as as Coltrane did.
Did you have any run-ins growing up in LA with any celebrities that we might know?
Run-ins?
Like Uncle Denny said he got dunked by Sandy Koufax, anything like that? Or you ran into Cary Grant at a grocery store?
No. I got bawled out by Lauren Bacall when I returned. Who was Lauren married to at that time?
Humphrey Bogart?
Bogart. No, who was it? Bogart? Sorry. I'll change that if it wasn't. I'm sure that. Let's see. No, Jason Robards Jr. I'm sorry. Lauren Bacall was married to Bogart earlier, but Lauren Bacall was married to Jason Robards Jr. And he had just gotten back at the hotel where I worked at the Beverly Comstock that I was talking about, and he had bought a stereo portable record player, a box like that. It was portable and it was stereo. The stereo was the big thing, And he had just bought that, and the cab brought him back from the Beverly Hills area from having bought it, and he brought it into the lobby and says, "Let's set this up so you can hear it." And he had just purchased the record Camelot, and so let's hear it. And so we put on Camelot, and he was a little under the influence and started singing it and dancing around, and grabbed my hand and said, "Let's dance, to music Camelot." But that lasted only 10 minutes or less. And I took him up to the room to take it up for him, and his wife Lauren Bacall, which you probably haven't heard of, was quite upset. And she was sitting there with Paul Muni. I mean, he's really history in Hollywood if you've ever heard of a Paul Muni. But I remember the lashing that he got. Not so much me. I wasn't in trouble. You ask if I got in trouble. No, but I did know some of the stars. You can mention that another time too if you want. It gets to some different scenery, but at the same place I knew Edward G. Robinson's wife, Tyrone Power, personally. He was a great Hollywood legend, really good-looking guy. Bob Cummins, Robert Cummins. You heard of him? Any of you?
No, I've heard of Tyrone Powers, not Cummins.
Yeah. So some of the stars, yes, and some of the stars in high school. Guys, I went to school with kids of the stars, Sinatra's. Went to school with, actually not in the same class. There was Frank Jr. In class just behind me, and then Nancy Sinatra was in the class ahead of me in Lynn's class group. So the Sinatras were there. But in my group there was Penny DeFore, Don DeFore's daughter, Sandra Dee was in my class. She graduated in our class. The story goes that I danced with her at the senior prom. Jerry Lewis performed at our graduation night at the senior prom. So Robert Mitchum, Jim Mitchum's, Robert Mitchum was, or Jim was Robert's son, if you've heard of Robert Mitchum. Tommy Riddick from Lassie. So there were a few stars that I had gotten to know, and kids of the stars. So, yeah, being in Hollywood.
All right, well, we'll cut it off for now, and we'll
Let's move to
visit another part of Italy and get another chapter.